So hello everyone, I'm Nizar. I basically work for ARM, look after the developer relations for ARM. And today I'll be giving you our perspective about virtual reality with a focus on mobile, since we are primarily mobile, and more the hardware side, since we are a hardware maker. So before I start, who have heard about ARM before? Okay. So the next slide then will make sense. So probably you all have a smartphone, or if you're here, then you develop for smartphones. So inside a smartphone, it's a bit like a PC. You have a motherboard and you have components, chips. ARM, we design the processors that power most mobile chips in the world. So the CPU and the GPU that is inside your smartphone is probably an ARM processor. But in a modern smartphone, you don't have just the main processor. You have a lot of other chips that control everything your smartphone does. From the sensors, like the gyro, from the SIM cards, the memory access, the connectivity to the network, to receive calls, send, communicate. And behind every single of these, actually, there's also an ARM processor that handles all that. So inside your smartphone, you have easily 10, even more ARM processors. So that's who we are. We design processors for mobile devices. British company, started 25 years ago. So what is exactly our business model? You might have heard of other chip makers, processor companies, but not about ARM. Why is that? Simply because we are purely a design company. We design the processors, and then after it takes us roughly 2 or 3 years to design these, we sell a license to our customers, who are the chip makers. So they take the design, integrate it with other components, then they fabricate the chip. And that goes into the mobile phone makers, who put it inside the phones, sell it to the world. So our business model is based on 2 components. When we license the processor design to our customers, we get the first chunk of money, license fee for the processor license. Then every time they ship a chip inside a phone or any other device, then we get royalty per device. That's the second part of our business model. It's nice because it can guarantee every quarter we get a nice check from our customers. But the most important thing about that is that we get all the reports from our customers, how many they sold in each sector. And we combine all that, and it gives us very good visibility how many smartphones, tablets, and so on are selling every quarter. Plus, to negotiate the license price with our customers, they need to give us their forecast, how much they think they'll be shipping. Because the price will change. If they ship 10 million units, it's not the same price if they ship 100 million or more. So again, we combine all the forecasts, and that gives us prediction, good prediction, how many smartphones, tablets will be selling in the future. And that data, we do share it with the community, and that's what I'll be going through a little bit today as well with you guys. So that's who we are. Today we're talking about virtual reality. So Tommy did a great start introducing you to virtual reality, so I'm not going to go through all of that again. But if you tried virtual reality, it's all about really the immersion, the sense of being in that world. Like this slide from a friend at Samsung, it's basically multiplies the emotions by 10 times or more. Just watching someone using a VR headset is actually great fun. You might know that VR is not new, started a long time ago in the 90s, but it didn't really take off. And the main reason for that was actually the hardware was not ready. There were few attempts, Virtuality, Sega VR, but it was a quick failure because the hardware was not really there. Today it's different. With all the advances we have in hardware, it is finally possible to have a go at VR again. And that was when Oculus really started again with the Oculus Rift, that this VR momentum built up again. VR is for a lot of use cases. People are thinking about games, of course, but can be used for a lot of other use cases. Can be simple interactive experiences. It can be training purposes, education, movies, retail, and so on. So the areas where VR could be used are quite a lot. To give you some of the examples we've been doing, so at ARM, we do create demos or concepts to test the hardware and challenge it. So this one is called Ice Cave VR. We put ourselves in the shoes of developers, so we use Unity 5 like probably most of you guys do, and we tried to create a stunning tech demo in VR using the Gear VR. And I'll be showing you a video of that. So we used the Gear VR based on the S6, and we created this demo. The interesting thing we did as well is we realized that actually if you're watching someone using VR, it's not fun. If you're using VR, then it's quite fun because you're in that world. Otherwise, you're just watching someone moving the head and you're wondering what they're doing. So we decided to implement an app that streams that content to a second phone, which could be to a tablet or to a large screen. So you can follow at the same time actually what he's doing. And that's real-time streaming between the devices. We even use some small controllers that you connect via Bluetooth, and then you can really control your game. So there are a lot of areas you can do with VR. It's internal, so we developed it in ARM, but we will consider releasing the source code so you guys can be inspired. It's quite simple. We can chat later about it if you'd like. This is another example from a British game studio called Dreams. And this one is not a game, it's simply an interactive experience. It's called Perfect Beach. I'll let you enjoy watching it. So after a busy day at work, then you put your VR headset on, and you're on this Caribbean island.
Beach experience. What lies ahead is warm sunshine, a gentle breeze, the sounds of the ocean. Forget about your worries. The only thing that matters is you. Be on this perfect beach.
And what Dreams told me that actually they put this one on as well as a first-person shooter, and they were expecting the game to be selling much, much better. And they were surprised actually this one was selling extremely well. So simple interactive experiences is sometimes maybe what people are looking for from VR. The third and last example is also again from a British studio called Starship up in Liverpool. And this one again is different.
Welcome to CyberCook Taster. Here you'll get hands-on with an exclusive demo for the world's first real-time cooking simulator in virtual reality. Let's get started. Go ahead and add some olive oil to the pan. Let's add the shrimp. They're already starting to take on their signature pink color. To zoom in, simply look at the pan and tap the touchpad. See how great those shrimp look up close. Don't forget to toss the ingredients to help them cook through evenly. Tap the touchpad again to zoom out. Let's take a look around your CyberCook kitchen. When you're happy with it, tap the touchpad to plate up. Congratulations, you just took your first step to becoming a real cyber chef. Visit the CyberCook website for all the latest CyberCook news.
So again, another example of VR entertainment experience. And what you've seen here was all running on a Gear VR, so it's all mobile VR experiences. Tommy talked about this earlier, so probably I'll skip it, but virtual reality is big by 2020. The landscape worldwide is actually very diverse. This is our tentative to map out all the hardware makers, the headset makers of VR around the world. You can see it's a worldwide phenomenon, or North America, Western Europe, and Asia. Tommy again showed how they are categorized. Basically, you have the mobile version and the connected version for PCs and consoles. Mobile, three major approaches. VR headsets based on your smartphone, so you plug your smartphone, that augments it into a VR device. Or you have the cardboard kind of equivalent, that Google started it, or hybrid mode that is very popular in China, what they call the all-in-one VR headset. So the device has everything, you don't need to use the phone. You all know the Gear VR. That's the first mainstream mobile VR device based on the Note 4 initially, the S6, and now the Note 5. What's worth knowing from hardware perspective, the resolution for that is 1080p, so full HD, and 60 frame per second refresh rate. So a bit limited compared to maybe desktop or PC VR. And the interesting thing is that's actually the first VR, or rear VR app store is the one for the Oculus VR. Wanted to briefly go through a Chinese counterpart. It's called Deepon, based in Shanghai. Maybe you've never heard of them, but they are seen in China as the Chinese Oculus. They make VR headsets for PCs, they make mobile VR headsets based on smartphones, and they make all these devices that they call all-in-one. So the VR headset is mobile, but it's not based on a smartphone. It has the processing, the screen, the sensors, everything inside, so you can use it without needing a smartphone. And the price point is really what is interesting in China. These devices are available even at less than $200, $100 to $200. And they provide a developer website, tools, and SDKs that go with it, like what you expect from major players in the West. So why mobile VR could be big? I talked earlier about our business model. So this is what we get from our business model in terms of forecast. This is what we'll be selling in 2020 in smartphone. You'll still have that entry-level smartphone, $50 to $100 price point, and 1 billion of these will be selling in 2020. It's a huge volume. The mid-range, which is more in the $100 to $200 kind of price point, 650 million of these will be selling. And the high-end, the iPhones, the S6 kind of counterpart, close to 500 million. Tablets, close to 500 million. And if you put laptops in comparison, they will be selling only 250 million. So out of all these smartphones, just do the math, say only 5% buy a VR headset. What opportunity you might have there. So the interesting thing about mobile is that we're talking about so many units, a huge volume, that the opportunity should be, in theory, there. Another thing about mobile, it's not really that underpowered device you might think. So this is showing the compute capability of the graphics processor. If we take consoles in comparison with PC, etc. Previous generation of consoles, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the next generation, Xbox One, PlayStation 4. So the previous generation was around 250 to 300 gigaflop per second. That's the unit used to calculate the compute power of a GPU. Next generation is getting close to 2 teraflop. So the high-end smartphone of today is above the previous generation and is getting really close to the next generation. So if you still think of that underpowered Java days smartphone, you have a console inside that smartphone form factor or more. And the catch, the rate at which we increase the performance is 30 to 50% year on year. So it's only a matter of a few years before we catch up even the next generation of console and overtake it. So it's not an underpowered device. Conscious I'm a little bit running out of time, so I'll just finish off quickly with the challenges you might see around VR. This is the principle of VR. You have to do dual display, left and right, and then you have to track the head movements with all the sensors. The third thing that would make VR very important, or great experience, is to be able to add hands interactions. And you have to do all that in real time. So it's a huge workload on the processors and the graphics processors inside your device. And that's a bit what is pushing us in ARM to increase the performance and capabilities of the processors so that you can have that smooth experience with the minimal latency. So we're doing that in the architecture to help you, but what we're doing also is we have a developer website where we give lots of resources out there. You asked me earlier about the app, how we do stream that. We do put examples and sample codes on our developer website, how you can do clever things like these. We have plenty of tools. These are the tools that you can download for free from the developer website. And if you use in Unity, we thought about actually what you need to know about the hardware if you're a Unity developer. So we created a guide that you can download for free there with all the best practices within Unity 5 about the hardware. What you need to know about the processor, the things you should avoid to have bad performance, the best practices to improve the performance and achieve that great visual that you want to get. If you're not using Unity and you're creating your own technology, then we are working on an SDK that we will make available at GDC, and that will go through all what you need to know about VR, what you need to implement in your engine, how to use the extensions to reduce the latency, etc. Some of the things we worked with Samsung and Oculus, for example, to improve. So that will be available in GDC. That's for advanced users, so probably if you're making your engine. And thank you very much.
Two quick ones. Are any ARM chips inside the Rift or the Vive, PlayStation VR, these console and PC dedicated ones, are ARM chips in there in any
For the sensors, yes. Since we're using all the sensors, then you have the microcontroller class, which is the smallest of our class. But the application class is primarily in smartphones.
His last question is kind of my question as well. Are there any plans of like integrating an extra chip for computer vision or anything like that?
Yeah, we work very closely with Oculus, yes. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you're coming to GDC, you will hear quite a lot of things.
His last question is kind of my question as well. Are there any plans of like integrating an extra chip for computer vision or anything like that?
Yes, all that are things that will be in the roadmap. The thing that I didn't speak about hand tracking, people are using controllers, but the most natural way is you use the camera and the smartphone to detect the hands and send the information, so you render that naturally in the app.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.